welcome to the Blood Red channel as Liverpool prepare to make their first signing of the summer in the form of Olympiakos left-back Kostas Tsimikas. I'm Guy Clarke as we get set to bring you the lowdown on the Reds' latest recruit with the Greek international penned in for his Melwood medical. We'll find out about Tsimikas' rise to prominence, having had spells in both Denmark and the Netherlands, when he came onto Michael Edwards and Jurgen Klopp's radar, and crucially what he'll bring to the Reds. Joining us to answer all that and more, and to allow us to get an insight into the player, it's a pleasure to say Themis Kessaris, the managing editor of Sport24, joins us from Athens. Themis, thanks for your time, and I bet it's a real busy one for you right now.
It is. It's my pleasure to talk with you. It's huge news for Greek football, for Olympiakos and the player himself. We've seen players coming to the Premier League since the 90s, but not to the champions of England, not to Liverpool, not to Jurgen Klopp team. It's a massive day, massive transfer for Greek football and the player himself.
Yeah, we'll get into the significance of the deal and talk about the player himself. But first, Themis, I just wanted to ask you for the correct pronunciation. I'm sure I've got it absolutely wrong, but how exactly is it we should be saying Kostas' full name?
It's Tsimikas, but I would guess that he will go either by Kostas, his first name, like Socrates Papastathopoulos, who plays for Arsenal, and I'm pretty sure that Klopp and the boys will be calling him Tsimi. He will cut his last name, and Tsimi sounds about right to me, like Robo, if you'd like.
Yeah, certainly, and it is Robbo. Of course, he'll be challenging for that spot in the team. Well, in terms of Tsimi then, in terms of what kind of player he is, what kind of left-back he is, what are Liverpool getting from Olympiakos?
Let me answer you in this way. If you take a Liverpool supporter and force him to watch Olympiakos games from this season, I'm pretty sure that after the third, fourth, fifth game that he would watch, he would turn around and say, "Oh my God, this guy looks like Robo, plays like Robo." I'm not saying he's as good as Andy Robertson, because I'm pretty sure that you believe that Andy is the best left back in the world. And I wouldn't go as far as to say that Tsimikas is the second best left back in the world. But the similarities are there for everybody to see. The aggressiveness in the way of playing. They never get tired. The stamina is outstanding. Running up and down the wing constantly in every game. I mean, I'm thinking that I have only seen Tsimikas really tired, worn out in a game only once this season. And you have to remember that he's ever present, just like Andy Robertson has been for Liverpool in the past 3 years. That's what Tsimikas brings to Olympiakos for the past two seasons. He's ever present, running up and down the wind with his stamina and his courage in the final third to try to help his team in the offensive and not only just his defensive duties. I'm sure you would all remember that Robertson made his name with that impressive pressing run he did against Manchester City 3 years ago, and everybody in Anfield was excited to see him go and run. He began his run in the halfway line in front of the dugouts and ended up pressing high up in the penalty box of Manchester City. At first, we all thought that Tsimikas was that kind of player, you know, the passionate defender, Greek defender that he would defend for his life, and just that. And as the games pass, we realized that he had so much more to give, that he was not just a defender, that he would cross the box, he would enter the penalty area, he would do cutbacks, crosses, or square the ball along the goal mouth. And he's absolutely one of the best players for Olympiakos, who had won the league again this season after 2 years that they had lost the league, and everybody was talking about the player that he's about to go and play somewhere else. He's about to go and play in Europe. And what we were waiting to find out is what the destination will be. And turns out it's Anfield and Liverpool.
Yeah, you mentioned the comparisons there to Andy Robertson. I suppose he's probably the best barometer for us to use, because I don't think, myself, I have to say, I'm not really across Greek football. I don't think many of our listeners on the Blood Red channel will be. But in terms of Andy Robertson then, and not just the playing side, I suppose how the deal sort of comes about, because Kostas is 24 years of age. I think a lot of people will be wondering how maybe he's not been on the radar of clubs before this. But Andy Robertson, likewise, was probably a bit of a later developer as well.
And you have to think and remind yourself that 24 is Michael Edwards and Jurgen Klopp's favorite age to get a player in. They like to get players in at the age of 24, maybe 27. That's when they have seen enough from the player to really know what they're getting, and they have the best years of the player ahead of them to work with him and turn him to a much, much better player. You have to remind yourself that Tsimikas 3 seasons ago was playing on loan in the Netherlands, in the Eredivisie with Fulham. He has been a regular starter for Olympiakos for the past 2 seasons. But these 2 seasons have been amazing for him. And his development is there for everybody to see. And during that season, even before January, it was evident that Napoli was looking into him. They were very interested in him. They had Nice from the Ligue 1 of France were also looking for him. But that was before the pandemic with COVID-19. And Olympiakos were asking for more than 20 million euros for the player. You have to remember that Olympiakos is the best-selling club in Greece, and they know how to do it, and they know how to get the price of the player up. But now that Liverpool came in, and with the COVID-19 situation, the numbers are not so high everywhere in Europe, maybe except Chelsea and City, but that's a different story. So the deal came through with that amount of money. I know that not many people have heard of Tsimikas before, but you know better than I do that the recruitment of Liverpool for the past 4 and 5 seasons has been absolutely amazing. And Edwards and Klopp, they don't care about what people think. They don't care if they get players from a team that were relegated, like Wijnaldum, like Robertson, maybe Sarr this season. I don't know. They don't care if you think that Salah is a Chelsea flop or Emane is another player from Southampton. And they didn't care that Virgil van Dijk became the most expensive footballer in the world. And some people were saying, but this guy rarely plays for Netherlands. How can he be the best in the world if he is not featuring enough for his national team? And of course, Klopp and Edwards were right, and the people were wrong. So I'm pretty sure that if they're buying Tsimikas, they know what they're getting. And they don't care if nobody knows the Greek league or if they haven't heard of the player 3 years ago.
Yeah, no, definitely seems the case. And you mentioned before how he's been an ever-present for Olympiakos and used to playing regular football a lot of the time. We understand, of course, Liverpool looking for a backup left-back. Will he be happy to initially come in as a backup? How long do you think it will take him to settle? And crucially, how long do you think it will be till maybe he is pushing Andy Robertson for that starting position at Anfield?
We have to wait and see. It's not easy for anybody to go from being a regular starter to trying to push for maybe a place in the bench. Because we all know that with Klopp at Liverpool, there's a unique process of coming in the first team. You remember Robertson himself didn't feature until late December. And everybody was thinking, what's going on? Where's Robertson? Liverpool bought the guy in the summer, and he's not even in the bench. And once he started playing, he never went missing again. The same thing happened with Fabinho, who is a Brazilian international and cost 50 million euros. It will be hard for Tsimikas, for sure. But he's a hard-working guy, a very noble character, a guy that loves his football, has a quiet lifestyle. There's nothing fancy or anything like. He doesn't think that he's a superstar that will go anywhere else and play. And I'm pretty sure that if he wasn't okay with the process that he will have to go through at Liverpool, he would say, okay, I won't go there. I will go to Napoli because there I will be a starter again. Maybe he will go to Leicester, who were thinking about buying him after they will sold Chilwell to Chelsea. Then he will be in the Premier League, playing in the best league in the world, and he will be a regular starter for one of the best teams in the league. Leicester are right up there, but he didn't. He said, okay, I will go to Liverpool. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It will be hard for him. I have no doubt about it. But I have faith not only in the guy's character and working rate, but also in the process that Klopp has for every player that he brings in. He's steady, take your time, do not worry about it. Your time will come. It happened with Oxlade-Chamberlain. I mean, a guy from Arsenal that you were thinking that he will come to the first team of Liverpool right away. He didn't. It took him time. It took time for Fabinho. It took time for Robertson. Now, Robertson has the place in the first team, and I'm sure that it will take time for Tsimikas to push Andy.
Yeah, sounds like maybe he's a humble guy, but obviously self-confidence as well that he can push Andy Robertson. And just on that then, does he play solely as a left-back for Olympiakos, or does he play maybe in a wing-back role, or even maybe inside, or is he just an out-and-out full-back?
No, I don't remember seeing him playing in any other position. Okay, nobody wants to grow up and be Gary Neville. We all know that. He was a left midfielder in his early days. But no, he's a left back. That's it. Much like Andy. They play in that position. I don't remember ever seeing him play in any other position for Olympiakos. He's just there. He's just a left back. I don't think he's versatile enough to play in any other position.
I suppose I said that maybe people wouldn't have seen too much of him this season, but he has played against a number of English sides this year. Of course, Olympiakos were in the group stages of the Champions League and recently in the Europa League. So he's played Tottenham, Arsenal and Wolves this season. So he will be arriving at Anfield with limited but some experience of playing against English sides, and crucially a player like Adama Traore of Wolves, who we've all seen this season what he can do in the Premier League.
Yes, he was. If you watch the game that Olympiakos knocked out Arsenal in the second leg of the Europa League tie, that game went to overtime, and Tsimikas had to play against Nicola Pepe. And if you look at the stats, you would think that Tsimikas had the nightmare facing Pepe. Pepe completed 12 successful take-ons, I think, on the night. But if you watch the game, you will see that he was right there against Nicola Pepe, trying to defend and try to help Olympiakos get through the game and knock out Arsenal, which was a massive result for Olympiakos. Pepe would make a take-on, a dribble, and the first player that he would face again was Tsimikas, who was trying to defend, trying to force him to do another take-on, try to block the pass or the shot of Pepe. He kept Adama Traore quiet. I think you all saw the game, the second leg of the game at Molineux against Wolves. And he was one of the Olympiakos' best players in the last game of the group stage of Champions League. Olympiakos were hosting the Red Star of Belgrade, and they had to win to claim the third spot and advance to the Europa League. And Tsimikas was absolutely outstanding that night. He was the best player on the pitch. He was the best creator of the pitch with 5 chances created for his teammates. He completed 6 dribbles. Of course, Red Star are not Tottenham, are not Arsenal, are not Wolves. But I'm just saying that if the level of the opponent drops a little, you could see that this guy could, as a left back, be the best player on the pitch. And that's not something you see very often. You see it at Liverpool with Trent and Andy, but you don't see that in many teams in the world, that their left or right back would be the best player on the pitch. I'm sure it would be helpful for him to have played this game against Tottenham, Arsenal, and Wolves, and he had to face some real difficulties in this game, especially against Nicola Pepe. But he did his job. He's never discouraged in a game against such opponents as Pepe or Adama Traore.
No, certainly does come then with a glowing reputation. Be interesting to see what he can do. I'm fascinated about his loan spells in Denmark and the Netherlands, where certainly in the Netherlands with Willem Trey, coincidentally, kept Gini Wijnaldum's brother out of the side, who was the other left-back in the squad. But I just wonder how important those stints away from Olympiakos on loan were for him in gathering experience and playing matches on a regular basis to come back and continue his development as rapidly as he has done.
It was not only Gini's brother on that team. He also played, he was a teammate with Pedro Chirivella. And that's why I'm thinking Tsimikas in the first place got for the first time in the Liverpool's radar, because the guys that watch the players out on loan saw Tsimikas play along Chirivella for that season. It was absolutely crucial because, you know, loans rarely work for Greek players. Most of them don't have the right mentality to say, okay, this is for my development. I will go to another country. I will play my football and I will come back stronger. They take it as a form of rejection, if you will. And they don't like loans out, and they rarely come back as an improved player. And most of them, when they're loaned out, they prefer to stay in the Greek league, the summer, the weather, and their friends and their girlfriends and whatever. So if Olympiakos loans a player out, he will just say, okay, I will go to one of the middle or smaller teams in the Greek Superliga. But Tsimikas didn't do that. And that was great for him and show that he's really interested in making a career and improving himself and becoming the best player that he can become. It was the first season of his career that he played regular football, week in, week out. I think he played for more than 33 games for Fulham that season. He was in the best 11 of the week for 6 times, which is quite impressive for a 21-year-old from Greece playing in Netherlands. And he became back a different person with his mentality, his concentration on the game, and the belief he had in himself that I'm going to be a top footballer. I'm going to make it. I'm not going to be loaned out again in some smaller club in Greece. I'm going to be an Olympiakos player. You have to remember, it's the pressure playing for Olympiakos is absolutely, it's more than Liverpool. More. I can assure you that. You remember that when Trent made his league debut, he was exposed by Rashford in the Old Trafford, and nothing bad happened. And when Gomez played at the Emirates against Arsenal, he was exposed at the far post, and Liverpool didn't win the game and ended up in a draw. That was okay. They kept playing for the team, and they had the trust of Klopp. That would happen in Greece to a young player. No, he would never play again. If you play for Olympiakos and they lose a game against Panathinaikos or PAOK, and you have made some crucial mistakes, that's it. you're gone. So, in terms of pressure, do not have any doubts in your mind about Tsimikas. They have to win every game, just like Liverpool this year, and it's the end of the world if they don't. It's literally the end of the world if they draw or lose a game for Olympiakos. So he came back from Netherlands, determined to make the left back place his own, determined to make a career.
Very, very interesting. And I suppose you mentioned maybe it was in the Netherlands he first came onto Michael Edwards' radar. Those sort of factors you talk about there, the pressure that he'll be under, the fact that he has moved abroad in the past, I'm sure things that aren't lost on Michael Edwards and Jurgen Klopp in recruiting this player. So let's talk about the deal then, Themis. And in terms of when interest first came around, you mentioned a couple of teams who have expressed interest in him, and not just when the interest first began in him, but also how quickly this deal's come around, because over here, of course, there's been plenty of focus on Norwich City's Jamal Lewis, a deal unable to be done then, and this deal then seems to have happened very, very quickly over the course of the weekend. But I'm sure you'll tell us that in Greece, things have been bubbling under for a little while.
Yeah, there are two different stories. The story that you guys have and the story that we guys have. It is my understanding that the English media were reporting that Liverpool turned to Tsimikas after their first bid for Jamal Lewis was turned down by Norwich. I don't have the same story. I have a slightly different story. My understanding is that the first bid for Tsimikas came a week ago, before the stories on Jamal Lewis breakthrough. It was a week ago. It was before the Wolves Olympiakos game, and I'm pretty sure that is the reason that nobody heard about it, because Olympiakos had a very crucial game against the Wolves. The team wanted to advance in the final 8 of the Europa League, and so everybody was quiet about it, and I don't know if they told the player yet that Liverpool made a bid a couple of days before the Wolves game, and we turned it down. My understanding is that Olympiakos turned it down, the initial offer. I think that they asked for 20 million euros, more like just like Norwich did. But I am under the impression that Liverpool understood that Norwich is not gonna lower their demands for Jamal Lewis, while Olympiakos gave the impression that okay, we want a little more, but it's not like you have to get to 20 million to get the player. Just a little bit more, and it will be fine. I wrote a piece on Saturday night about the first bid of Liverpool and the second bid that I think would be incoming. I have to be honest with you, I didn't expect the second bid to come in the following day. But you know how things work with Liverpool. They don't like sagas. They don't like stories lingering on for weeks and months during the summer. The Fabinho saga was the shortest saga we have ever seen in the national football. I mean, in 2 hours, it was still done. It's something like that. The stories broke yesterday about reaching an agreement with the club, and before you know it, he's on a plane coming to Liverpool for his medical, and everything was sorted out. For us, it has been weeks since we had the feeling that Liverpool were actively looking for Tsimikas. Of course, I had always kept in mind that Michael Edwards would surely have a short list of names for the left back position, especially since they have Andy Robertson playing, since they're really looking for a backup, which is not something that Liverpool has done for the past 4 or 5 years. They have always been looking for a player to go right into the team and build the puzzle piece by piece. So I was pretty sure that they were looking in the possibility of buying Tsimikas, but I was sure that there will be other names too. So I wasn't getting my hopes up. I would say, okay, they were looking about him. Maybe they will go in another direction. Maybe they have something else in mind. I think that the Norwich approach to the negotiation, that it will be 20 million or nothing, really turned Liverpool onto Olympiakos and Tsimikas, and they thought, okay, we're not going to go weeks about talking with negotiating on the price of Jamal Lewis. We can get Tsimikas. We like him. He has been on our radar for years. We're sure that he's the right man to push Andy Robertson for the left back position. So, a couple of days time, and that's it.
On the deal, then, how significant is this for, I suppose, Greek football as a whole as well, rather than just the player, rather than just Olympiakos, the profile that it brings of a deal with Liverpool Football Club?
It's huge because we have many Greek players playing abroad in the top 5 leagues. It's not big news anymore. Sokratis Papastathopoulos played for Milan, played for Dortmund. Now he plays for Arsenal. Kostas Manolas, who has been in the news about Liverpool many seasons ago, plays for Napoli in the Serie A and the Champions League. His goal knocked out Barcelona a couple of years ago. So it's not like it's something out of the blue, but it's Liverpool. I mean, with no disrespect to any other club or Arsenal or Dortmund or Napoli or Roma, it's Liverpool. They are the champions of England right now. They were the champions of Europe last season. And Tsimikas is not like Kyriakos, like the veteran that will come back just to be on the bench. And you have to remember that, I'm pretty sure that you remember, that when Kyriakos came to Liverpool, Liverpool were in dire straits in many ways. And he did his best, but he didn't go to the best team in England. He just went to a very big club with great history, but that's it. And it's huge for Greek football and Greek fans, who you have to know that they're absolutely mental about football. They don't just care for their team. They have to follow everything about football. They know everything about the Premier League, about the Serie A, about La Liga, and they're crazy about it. And you have been watching Liverpool for the past 3 seasons getting better and better and better, reaching the Champions League final and then winning the Champions League and then doing this absolutely amazing season. And the first player they buy after they become the champions of England is, Tsimikas from Olympiakos at 24 as a left back. He's going to play with Jurgen Klopp. Amazing. It's huge news for Greek football. And they have all been talking yesterday and today about the Georgatos. I don't know if you remember the guy. He was the best left back in the history of football, in my opinion. And he twice played for Inter Milan. They bought him twice, and he didn't have the right mentality. He was a world-class footballer, in my opinion, but he didn't have the right mentality to just say, okay, my Olympiakos years are over. I'm going to play football in Serie A and become the best I can be. He always wanted to come back and play for Olympiakos. Now, it's 20 years since then, and the mentality of the Greek players, it's much different. They all aspire to go to the next level and the next level, and I think it's great for everybody to see such a transfer come through for Greek football. With no disrespect to any other Greek players that are playing abroad, and there are great players, they didn't go to Liverpool. LFC is a different story.
No, I bet it makes your job interesting as well, as you say, the fanatical aspect of Greek football fans wanting to know absolutely everything about all Greek players. So I'm sure you'll be very busy with this deal and everything that is to come with it. And you mentioned Kyriakos there. Of course, Kostas will become the second Greek player to play for Liverpool. And I suppose the memories people may have of Kyriakos and what obviously a Greek player will bring to Liverpool, those are going to be very much transformed with Tsimikas when he arrives at Liverpool.
Yes, I can understand why that would be the case. They would be thinking of Kyriakos. Okay, I can tell them that they can expect the same passion and work rate. But Kyriakos was the old standard archetype of defender of your Jamie Carragher that would spend 90 minutes on the pitch fighting with the opponents and the center forwards. Tsimikas is a modern player, and Klopp and Edwards would never buy somebody if they didn't think that they fit absolutely the standards of Liverpool that Liverpool have these days. He's a modern player. He's not just a defending fullback. He's an attacking fullback. He has the courage to enter the opponent's penalty box. He has the courage to take on the opponent, and he has a stamina to go up and down on the wing for 90 minutes. I can understand that they will be thinking of Kyriakos, but no long hair, no Highlander look, nothing like that. No. Tsimikas is a modern footballer, and I think that the evolution of the position in the past 2 or 3 years through Liverpool's success, it's the best, absolutely best timing for Tsimikas to sign. Now that the football world is looking at fullbacks again, not just as assets in the team, as maybe are the most valuable player or the most integral player in the system of the way they play, the timing could never have been better for Tsimikas to sign. He's 24, he has the best years of his career ahead of him, and he goes to play for the best team in the world in terms of utilizing the fullbacks. So he's not Trent. Nobody's like Trent. We all know that. Okay, nobody's like Trent. It's a unique phenomenon, the way he plays in that right back position, and but he plays in the exact same way that Andy Robertson plays, and I'm pretty sure that would be a massive help for him in order to establish himself in the Liverpool team.
Well, Themis, it's been absolutely brilliant to pick your brains and talk to you all about Kostas Tsimikas, the next player who, as you say, the first signing for Liverpool after becoming champions of the Premier League. Thank you very much for your time and for joining us here on the Blood Red channel. It's been great chatting with you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Brilliant stuff. Well, Themis Kessaris, the managing editor of Sport24, joining us here on the Blood Red channel. Don't forget, the Blood Red podcast will be with you this afternoon to react even further to the news that Kostas Tsimikas is set to become Liverpool's first signing since becoming Premier League champions. From myself, Guy Clarke, though, and all of us here at the Blood Red channel, thanks for your time and company. It's bye for now.